Hello.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So welcome to the second webinar of the Inherit project. This webinar refers to the technical competences for next generation solutions in cultural heritage buildings. And it's the second out of the 3 webinars that Inherit will host. My name is Antonia Brondi. I am from Singular Logic. Singular Logic is a large software integrator in Greece, and it's the coordinator of the project. Today with me, I have, let me change the slide. I have Iasonas Sotiropoulos from Singular Logic. He is the technical manager and lead engineer for the Inherit project, and he's contributing to the design and development of tools for supporting the monitoring of cultural heritage sites. Marina Solovyeva from the National Technical University of Athens, a data analyst and data scientist at the Decision Support Systems Laboratory. And she has contributed to the design and development of data-driven Inherit services supporting the monitoring of cultural heritage sites. And last but not least, Nuria Nuñez Mancebo from CEMOSA, who is a part of the R&D department of CEMOSA, and she has contributed to the digital twin, focusing on the monitoring of cultural heritage sites. Of course, I also have my colleague Joel Raka from ICCS, who will assist in this session. So today's agenda includes a short introduction to the project and to the learning packages of Inherit, and then 3 questions will follow that our panelists will answer. And at the end, you'll have the opportunity to ask your own questions to the speakers. And let's get started with what is Inherit about. Inherit aims to make historical buildings more sustainable, accessible, and energy efficient while maintaining their cultural heritage value. The ambition behind this was the fact that different cultural heritage buildings were built in different centuries with different materials. So we need to, let's say, face some challenges that occurred. And this is why our methodology is divided in 3 layers. The social layer, we needed to address the needs, the challenges, the barriers that the stakeholders might face when having to deal with these kind of buildings. The scientific layer, we set up a common European approach to achieve a balance between the sustainable building performance and the values preservation of the heritage buildings. The creation of an assessment tool and its framework to evaluate these cultural heritage sites, and the creation of the Inherit Hub to define affordable and viable solutions to renovate heritage buildings. Last but not least, the technological layer, which we are focusing today, which consists of 11 services, and these services are divided in 4 categories, as you may see in the screen: the data collection and sharing, the design and renovation, the monitoring, operation and management, and the preservation and maintenance. This methodology is applied in 8 real-world pilots across Europe. And yeah, this is just a brief overview of the project. Of course, we will see more about some of the services later. And now I will give the floor to Joelle to give us an introduction to the learning units.
Thank you. And it's very similar to, if somebody participates also to the first webinar, it's very similar to what has been said there, but it's only take a couple of minutes, and also in the meantime, give time to people joining, because I see that the number is not high, but it keeps growing, and also I also want to invite you in a using the chat and ask questions, and there will be a Q&A at the end, because that's also the good part of not being too many participants. But back on the webinar, and we asked ourselves the slide before, you saw the 8 pilot buildings of the project, but we also want to go beyond the pilots and share the knowledge that is produced and tested there with you, with a broader audience. And to do so, one of the way is through e-learning packages. They're available online. That's why there's the little E in the front, and 3 webinars that are associated. So the idea is to have 3 webinars, each of them presenting a glimpse on like an inside of the 3 packages. Sorry. What I want to mention is that learning packages are designed in a way to address 2 different types of expertise, one being more technical and one being more soft, we can say, and more about cultural and heritage sensitivity, because there are both aspects are very much needed in the heritage management and in sustainable interventions. It's as Tonya said, the main topic of the United project. And the webinar, I want to present a glimpse of what's included in the packages that are learning units. So each learning package has different learning units on their, they contain learning units, which are, just to be on the same page, are self-contained piece of knowledge. It means they're like single, self-completed, as I say, pieces of knowledge that allow the reader, so the learner, to understand and apply the knowledge that is described in there. And those are all tools and methods that derive from the United project. And as we see in the corner, this material will be available, fully available in summer, because still we have some of the learning units ready that are the one that are presented, but then also the project is continuing and producing more. Tony, if you can go to the next slide, because what we focus on today is second package, so the technical competencies for the next generation solution, and in particular in cultural heritage buildings. And here we'll see 3 different learning units that describes 3 different services, so digital services that have been developed during the project and tested. I will not mention them because we're gonna mention them more in depth later, and those are the 3 tools and services that are going to be presented. And Tanya, if you can click one more time, I just wanted to say that while the first and second webinar present materials called tools and are full within it. The third one is will feature the European Bauhaus Festival, and therefore it's let's say broader or more open, and it features also tools and methods presented by other in Cyprus, and the NONA project with examples from Slovenia. And now I will give the floor back to you, Tanya, to dive deeper in the second package.
I hope you can hear me. So now I will give a brief description of the 3 services that will be discussed today. The first one is the digital twin for cultural heritage buildings. It's a virtual replica of heritage buildings, combining BIM model sensor data and performance models to support monitoring and decision making. It includes interactive visualization, enabling data display directly on the 3D model through values, heat maps, and dashboards with detailed charts. And some of its main characteristics, let's say, are the monitoring, the energy efficiency, the pathologies, and the accessibility. Of course, more information will be followed by the speakers for each of these services. Next service is service 7, real-time insights on activity and mobility patterns that helps to, let's say, track the mobility of the guests in a building. Using location-specific information. Its main characteristics include the measurements at room and building level, real-time and historical mobility data, integrated measurements from other sensors allowing deeper insights, and alerting when measurements get out of range. We have also included the service here. If anyone wishes to have a look, we can share it with you. And last but not least, Service 9, GIS-based solution for sustainable heritage maintenance. Its main characteristics include the interactive GIS platform of heritage buildings, covering pilot areas with hundreds of geo-reference buildings enriched with 50 plus attributes, machine learning-based clustering of buildings using unsupervised models revealing typological groupings, advanced interactive filtering system, and sustainable renovation planning support by identifying typologies that enable coordinated, cost-efficient, and preservation-aware intervention strategies. So this is very short, but now we move to the first question, and I would like to start with the first one. What digital tool did you develop and for who? And I will start with Nuria from CEMOSA.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. CEMOSA developed in this project the modular digital twin for a cultural heritage building. Basically, a digital twin is a virtual replica of a building that helps us to understand how the building performs and how it can be managed more efficiently. The main goal of this tool is support the operation and maintenance of heritage building while respecting and preserving their cultural value. This platform is focused on four main areas, as Tonia said before, the monitoring, the energy efficiency, the building pathologies, and the accessibility. One of the key advantage in this tool is that all the information is integrated into a single platform. This system integrates a 3D viewer in which you can see the BIM model together with different modules that allow the user to visualize, analyze the data in an intuitive way. For example, the user can remotely inspect the building through the 3D viewer and access both the real-time data and the historical data. This makes easier to monitor some indoor condition, energy performance, and identify areas where the improvement can be made. The tools also have a what if simulation. This means the user can test the different scenarios before making decision. For example, analyzing how certain change could reduce the energy consumption or improve the indoor condition. Another important feature is the pathology module, which allow the user to record and visualize the damage directly in the 3D model. So this support the preventive and conservation because potential risks like condensation problems can be detected early before they can be more serious. Also, as Donia said before, the platform also includes the accessibility module, which helps to the user to identify some accessible routes and evaluate how the inclusive the building it's for different user. For the second part of the question, in terms of target user, this tool is very useful for several stakeholders, but there are three main target groups that are the building owners, the facility manager, and the AEC professional. For the building owners, this tool provides a better understanding of how the building works and support the decision making. For the facility manager, offer a centralized platform to monitor the condition. And for the AEC professional, such as architects, engineer, consultants, it helps to compare simulation or design assumption with real operational data, which can improve the future renovation plan projects. So this is my answer.
Thank you, Nuria. If anyone has questions, please write them down so we can answer them later. Let's move on with Iasonas.
Okay, hello. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, good. So I'm from Singular Logic, as Tom said before, and in Singular Logic we developed the Insights tool, which is the Service 7. It is basically a digital platform for people counting and a combination with some environmental monitoring. It supports real-time sensor data, real-time information on people counting and on their environmental conditions. And the tool is addressing to building owners, to facility managers, administrators, and operators of cultural heritage buildings. Basically, anyone, any stakeholder who needs some continuous awareness on how the building behaves and how it is simultaneously being used. Some of the main characteristics for this tool is one, the fact that it monitors and counts people in a room level and also in the story level and aggregating on the building, so in different levels. And the way that it monitors and counts people is GDPR compliant, meaning that we use sensors and not cameras, which sometimes is being used. Additionally, as said before, we combine this information with some information on the building, on each room, and some environmental conditions like humidity and the temperature. So this combination is basically an aggregated type of information that supports the building level to understand how what are the conditions in its room and how its room is being used real time and what improvements can be made. Another important aspect is the visualization layer. We do not just use tables and charts, but we basically have a blueprint of the building where we can see real time what exactly is the people counting in each room, which exactly are the environmental conditions, whether we have some critical values here, so we can just view it in a blueprint, which is very easy to address some problems real time. Now, one final aspect of this tool is that it supports also some alerts. So here we have another module which are some alerts that happen. We have that can be addressed in two different levels. The first one is in case we have some values which are out of some bounding boxes that we have here in the Inherit project, and we have also alerts in case that some anomalies have been detected. So in case that even the value is inside the logical values that we agree, but it does not follow the pattern of the usage of this room, then again we have an alert. So we have, using these alerts, the real-time monitoring, and the combination of different metrics, we aim to create a tool that it supports smarter, more sustainable, privacy-aware building management throughout this continuous sensor, let's say, driven monitoring, and the intuitive visualization of the data. So, yeah.
Thank you, Iasonas. And Marina, please take the floor.
Of course, thank you. My pleasure. So, the digital tool we developed is Service 9. It is a JS-based clustering web application. It's designed to support sustainable maintenance and renovation planning for cultural heritage buildings. And it's currently implemented in pilot areas of Athens, Greece, Visby, Sweden, and Riga, Latvia. It's organized in the form of a web tool, specifically story map. So it's like a long scroll. And it includes both sections with methodology, description, and anything else that can help in text form to understand better the tool. And most importantly, it includes interactive maps that visualize for each pilot site all the collected buildings with their features and clustering results. The tool is primarily intended for heritage management, for conservation officers, architects, engineers, any building authorities, and of course researchers working in cultural heritage architecture and preservation and management. So the motivation behind the tool was the complexity of maintaining large and diverse building stocks in historical urban areas. As far as we know, decisions around renovation maintenance can be very time consuming, and they usually go on case by case basis, which is suboptimal. And this tool mostly helps to make these large data sets and the representation more consistent and easily visualizable. So our goal was to introduce a more structured and data-driven approach. The tool, GIS visualizations mostly, address this by integrating geospatial data, so each building outline, and in general the feeling of a GIS solution, with machine learning techniques. It visualizes building data on interactive GIS maps, standardizes key architectural and structural attributes, and it applies unsupervised learning techniques, clustering algorithms, to group buildings into topologies based on a wide array of shared characteristics such as construction period, building materials, architectural style, features, both decorative and again more structural ones. And so each resulting cluster represents a building typology and which users can explore directly through the map interface. And they are also able to filter buildings by any selected attribute, any filter actually collected and presented at there. They can inspect detailed building profiles, compare patterns, most importantly, across different areas of the pilot interest. So from perspective of any user, the main service impact is the shift of workflow flow from building to building analysis to the group of buildings and again larger data coverage of large building areas. It definitely helps to identify patterns in historic building stocks, especially in the large ones, and it helps to shift towards more coordinated renovation strategies. So to sum up, it helps to scale up and speed up things.
Thank you. Please collect your questions for the Q&A session if you have any questions. And now we're moving to question number 2. In what way these tools contribute to the sustainable management and renovation of cultural heritage buildings? At this time, I'm starting with Iasonas.
Okay, yeah. Hello. So the platform contributes to the sustainable management of these buildings, mainly through monitoring, preservation support, and data-driven decision making for interventions and renovations. So Let's start with the monitoring phase. The system, of course, enables some continuous observation of both the occupancy and the environmental conditions inside the building and in its room. This is quite important in cultural heritage buildings since these are often sensitive to environmental changes and require some careful operational management. So by continuously measuring, for example, parameters such as humidity or temperature, and also people counting and combining this information, the platform provides stakeholders a clear understanding on what conditions exist anytime, and also go through historical data and see how over time these conditions change. So this contribute directly into the preservation efforts. In these buildings, inappropriate conditions again can affect negatively some historical materials or artworks or even the structure. So through this monitoring and the alerting system, the platform allows the operators to identify problematic situations early on and react before they become serious issues. So um, the occupancy monitoring aspect is quite important for the sustainable operation. Understanding how different spaces are used by the managers can optimize ventilation, heating, cooling, and general the overall operation. Um, Now, the platform also supports the intervention and renovations phases, since it stores the historical information uh, and the combination of different measures. Stakeholders can analyze them long-term, can analyze the long-term trends and identify recurring problems and inefficiencies. And this can support some data-driven planning decisions for renovation strategies or retrofitting actions even. For example, if certain areas consistently experience poor environmental conditions or overcrowding or poor indoor environmental quality when being overcrowded, this information can justify targeted interventions. Now, another important aspect is that combining all these three, the system promotes some proactive rather than reactive management approach. Instead of responding only after visible problems, building managers can observe the state of the building and act early on based on data and the alerts. Now, finally, because the platform uses also GDPR-friendly, sensor-based monitoring instead of cameras, surveillance cameras. It supports sustainable smart building management while also respecting the privacy and ethical considerations, which was one of our design choices early on in this service. Thank you.
Thank you. So, how service nice contributes to the sustainable management, Marina?
Of course. So Service9 contributes to sustainable management across several key phases. Mostly it supports better understanding, better planning, and hence decision making at different levels. I think I can separate them into three phases and then discuss each one in more detail. So first is the preservation monitoring phase, then it is the intervention and renovation planning phase, and finally it is the strategic decision making phase. So starting again from the first one, where the monitoring phase mostly, tool of course helps users gain a structured overview of the large building stocks, again to take an eagle eye across the area of the main interest. By grouping buildings into typologies or clusters based on shared architectural structural characteristics, it becomes much easier to identify patterns across the city or district. It can highlight areas where buildings show similar signs of aging or where maintenance needs may be more urgent. So in this way, it supports more proactive approach to conservation, sorry, rather than reacting to issues on a case-by-case basis and well, catching up with the issues. Second, then moving to the renovation planning phase, two mostly promotes cooperation and organized planning. Instead of, again, plan intervention for individual buildings and isolations, stakeholders, researchers, or anyone, user can coordinate their strategies. They can find similar buildings that can be addressed together to also implement the cost-cutting strategies. And these buildings can be benefited from the similar or specific renovation approaches. This does not only improve efficiently, reduce planning effort, it also helps ensure consistency in both technical solutions and aesthetical solutions with respect to architectural and historical value of each urban fabric. So finally, moving to the last decision-making phase, the tools can support policy and resource allocation. Decision makers can use the clustered information to prioritize interventions, to identify hotspots of need, and to better distribute funding or technical resources. It makes planning more evidence-based, more data-driven, it helps align renovation strategies, and it helps it broaden sustainability and heritage preservation goals. So overall, again, by combining the overview and JS visualization data analysis techniques, it can help users stay more informed and plan interventions much, much better.
Thank you. And Nuria, how digital twin contributes to the sustainable management and renovation?
Okay, I think this type of tool, like the digital twin, are very useful because they provide a continuous and a real understanding of how the heritage building performs over the time. So one of the main contribution is the continuous monitoring. The system can track the indoor environmental conditions such as the temperature, humidity, or the air quality, and this help improve the comfort and reduce the energy use without negatively affecting the heritage value of the building. Another important aspect is the decision making because the platform combines, as I said before, the real-time data, historical data, and simulation tools, so the users can evaluate different solutions before implementing them. This helps avoid unnecessary or invasive intervention, which is especially important in heritage building. Also, this tool support the preventive conservation by detecting issues early. For example, the condensation risk. So the maintenance action can be planned before the damage appear. This allow a more proactive approach instead of reacting only when the problems become visible. Right now, we are working on incorporating a high occupancy scenario for areas that were not intended for high occupancy, such as a capil, to see what will happen and what the measure should be taken. So this contribute to the manage of this type of building. And in terms of renovation, the digital twin helps identify improvement opportunity and estimate the potential impact of different measures, including possible energy saving. This makes the renovation process more efficiency and better informed. So overall, these types of tool uh, support a more sustainable, efficient, and respectful management for this type of building, the cultural heritage building, by combining conservation, energy performance, user well-being.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. It's great that we're talking about all these technical aspects of the tools, but there might be some building owners, heritage experts, managers of cultural heritage buildings, occupants that might not be that familiar with the tech aspects of these tools. What is the knowledge required to apply these tools, and what will the learners learn or be able to do? Iasonas?
Yeah, hi. The Service 7, the Insights tool, is designed mainly for non-technical stakeholders, for non-technical users. It is for for everyday users such as facility managers or building operators, where basic, basically digital skills are required. Users mainly need to understand how to navigate through the dashboards and interpret the charts, the indicators, and respond to the alerts that are generated by the system. So, since the platform focuses heavily to the visualization part, including the data display on the building blueprints, it is designed to be intuitive for users without any technical background. That said, it can also be used by more advanced users, such as some technical personnel or administrators, which who can be involved in configuring sensors, the sensor installation, and selecting some areas of interest in order to put more sensors there. Now, through the use of the platform, the learners gain understanding on how smart monitoring technologies can support sustainable building management and, of course, the cultural heritage preservation. They learn how real-time sensor systems operate and how environmental and occupancy data can be together collected and consumed, visualized, and analyzed in practice. They also learn how to interpret the building behavior data, for example, identify some occupancy patterns, mobility crowd patterns, detect some environmental anomalies, understand how the interconditions evolve over time, and recognize the situations that require some intervention. So this helps learners move towards um, a more evidence and data-driven based decision making. Finally, the learners understand how the digital tools contribute to sustainability goals. They see how continuous monitoring, the historical analysis, and the intelligence alerts, all of these can support energy efficiency, operational optimization, preventive maintenance, and ultimately um, move towards a more sustainable management of the cultural heritage buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. And what about the digital twin? Will a non-tech person be able to use it, or you said in the beginning that the stakeholder that it aims to address is the building owners. So what knowledge do they require to have in order to use this tool?
Okay. I think the user don't need a very advanced technical knowledge to start to using this type of tool, but having some basic understanding of the building and how the building it's operate, it's helpful. For example, it is useful to understand the maintenance, as well as some basic knowledge about the building system, especially in HVAC system. It also helps to have a general idea of indoor environmental condition, how the temperature changed during the day, and how it affects to other parameters. As the humidity levels, because these parameters are very important when you are analyzing the building performance. So, and for the second part of the question, the user will learn how the digital twin works, and how it can represent different aspects of the heritage building, includes the energy performance, indoor condition, conservation values, and accessibility. Will They will also learn how to analyze the real-time and historical data, identify problems, and support the decision-making process. At the last, the user will understand how the data can be used to propose practical improvement.
Thank you. And Marina, what about Service 9?
Sure. Well, to effectively use Service 9, users should have some prior knowledge of architectural topologies, cultural heritage preservation principles, and broader understanding of architectural values and buildings and preservation techniques. It's also helpful to be familiar with basic GIS concepts such as paths, layers, spatial attributes, but the tool is designed to be intuitive, to appeal to both stage-savvy users and users without technical background. And well, in addition, an understanding of renovation and retrofitting constraints in heritage buildings is important, as these are often I'm so sorry. Well, they limit the available actions or renovation techniques so much that even our clusterization mechanism may not catch it. Well, after interacting with the service, users are expected to develop both technical and analytical skills. First, they will become more confident in navigating the GIS interface, to apply multi-layered filters, interact with the building database in a very structural way. They will be also able to interpret building clusters and understand the topological patterns that emerge from the data. This helps them move from viewing individual buildings to recognize broader spatial architectural trends, just as we discussed in the previous questions. And this can be applied in planning and renovation strategies, just as in monitoring. Another key outcome is that users can now explore how different clusters reflect the cultural and historical context of each pilot area. This will mostly be useful for researcher measures or for the students. And I believe this is particularly important in historical sites like our pilots, where building stock is so closely tied to local identity and heritage development over time. And finally, users will be able to justify renovation strategies, to be informed by clustering results, to be able to cooperate, and to be still respect the cultural heritage values and preservation guidelines. That's mostly it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for answering this question. This is the time for question and answers. Let me stop sharing so I can see. Yes, please go on, Jelly.
Yeah, so we don't have question in the chat yet, so I encourage everyone to either write in the chat or just raise your hand. But I also have a question that could be addressed to all of you actually, and it's because you mentioned an array of different stakeholders, so different users, and do they have the same interface? So the interface change if it's, for example, a building owner or a researcher. Yeah, just curious. And actually, sorry, in addition to this question, for Marina, if it's because you mentioned about cooperation for different users, how does it work? Do they share the same page? Do they see the same building, or how
Right.
does this work?
Well, so let me start by answering your question first. I'll start again with the first half, that now the interface is the same for all users, but the specificality of the GIS maps and applying multiple features is that eventually in each pilot instance, each user might develop their own small interface, especially if they're working in experience mode. It's also available by clicking on a button that shows up the whole map in the full screen. So after all, the building that I showed, the features that are highlighted, may be specifically customized by each user for their specific purposes. Well, regarding cooperation, it will be mostly promoted rather than supported directly via the service, as well, buildings are collected via official resources, and they don't usually have the contact details, but knowing them and having shortlisted some buildings that may be of the most interest for any kind of user, it is possible to cooperate with them and to contact the specified buildings, authorities, or anything like that. I hope I did help answer this question.
Maybe I can also go for the inside school, at least for the first question. That was for everyone. So we do not have different views based on the roles of the users. It is the same. But I think that it could be a nice addition, maybe, if we find some specific um, attributes for its role, someone that I can perform specific actions based on their roles, then maybe I think it could be a nice addition to this service. But until now, we have one view for all, and the users can actually view information only for the buildings that they have access to. So at least in terms of the Inherit project, a user that belongs to one organization, which is a pilot building in Inherit, they can view the information on the specific building. So this is the only role permission thing that happens currently. And maybe it would be a nice addition to investigate whether we can have different views and actions based on the roles of stakeholders.
For the services, the interface doesn't change. It's the same for all the user, but it could be a great improvement for the future. But for now, it's the same for all the users.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe like different interfaces can make it be more complex to use. So I don't. It's not necessarily needed. But thank you all.
So if there are no questions, then we could maybe move with the Mentimeter. But of course, if you have any questions and you are shy to raise your hand, please write them down. We can answer them.
Exactly. Also now, and then maybe we can even close by the hour. So if you have other meetings that doesn't overlap, the Mentimeter is just like a nice quick exercise to gather feedback. So I will share in the chat a link and a code. And I will ask my colleague Inigo if you can share the screen, so for also people that are not familiar with the tool, it's visible what's gonna happen. The idea is to, sorry, let's let me post in the chat. There, if you click on the link and use the code, you will see like one slide with one question, and you can put your answer, and it's a one-word round just to get a sense of your feedback. And in the meantime, it's still possible to ask questions. All right, yes, we see the screen. Thank you.
Okay, I think you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also we'll see the answer live. So you're invited to click on the link and think about one word. Doesn't have to be, how can I say? You don't need to overthink the word. The first things that come to your mind. Okay, so far words are all the same size, means that it's not a word that appear more time than others. And all of a sudden, words become bigger. Okay, see 9 people out of 10 in the Mentimeter replied, so maybe just let's wait one more minute. If anybody else wants to join, and if you there's some tech issue, you can also write it in the chat. But it's nice to have them collected in the word cloud. I see that 11 out of 11 responded. Maybe Nico, we can stop sharing the screen, but the link is still open. So if anybody else is still logging in, you can add yours. And
Okay, perfect.
And all from my side, I will give the floor back to you, Tanya.
Thank you, Jola. I just want to say that, as Jola said in the chat, that we will follow up with an email and links and material from the webinar. And by using the tools, some questions might come up. So don't hesitate to contact us. Don't hesitate to contact Intuit and follow our social media. And thank you for joining. Thanks to all the speakers. And if no one has any other questions, we're good to go. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks to the speakers.
Thank you.